You live in a world that lies to you about virtue. You are told to always be honest, kind, and good, even when the world rewards deceit, cunning, and strength. And so you suffer. You lose to those who understand what I once wrote. The problem we shall solve today is simple. How can one survive and rise in a world that punishes purity and rewards strategy? I am Niccolò Machiavelli, and this is my truth, simply explained. They have used my name as an accusation for centuries. Machiavellian, they say, as if it were poison. They use it to describe cruelty, deception, and ruthless ambition. But tell me, who decided that truth must always sound gentle? Who declared that survival itself is immoral? My name became a shadow because I refused to lie to the world. I refused to flatter kings with fantasies of goodness. I showed them the world not as they wished it to be, but as it truly is. For that, I was condemned, misunderstood, and exiled. Yet history, in its irony, could not erase me, because I spoke a truth that never die. Listen carefully, for I speak not of evil, but of clarity. The world you live in, much like the one I lived in, rewards illusion and punishes honesty. You are told to be pure, to be kind, to trust blindly in virtue. Yet the very same society bows to the powerful, admires the cunning, and follows those who command fear more than love. Tell me, then, who is the real deceiver? The one who tells you the truth about power, or the one who hides it behind holy words? I was born in Florence, a city as brilliant as it was treacherous. Behind its art and beauty, politics flowed like poison through marble veins. I saw alliances forged in smiles and broken in silence. I saw noble men executed not for their crimes, but for their innocence. I learned that power is not a moral game. It is a human one. And those who do not understand this law are devoured by it. When I wrote The Prince, I did not write for tyrants. I wrote for survivors. I wrote for the man surrounded by wolves who still wished to keep his soul. I wrote for the leader who understood that goodness, when blind, becomes a weapon used against itself. My words were never meant to encourage cruelty, but to warn against naivete, for I have seen good men perish because they thought that the world would reward their virtue. It does not. The world, my friend, rewards results. And results are rarely achieved by virtue alone. That is what they could not accept. That is why they feared me. They wanted a world governed by morals, but lived in one governed by power. They wanted saints to rule, yet followed lions and foxes. My sin was to point out the contradiction. I wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. They called me heartless for it. But I never said that love is worthless. I only said that fear is reliable. Love is fragile, it fades with circumstance. Fear endures through respect. When fortune changes, the same people who once arded you will betray you, but those who respect your power will think twice before they cross you. You see, my lessons were not for the wicked. They were for the realists. I understood that morality is a tool, not a guarantee. A ruler must appear virtuous, but he must also know when to set virtue aside for the sake of survival. For a good man who loses his power can no longer do good for anyone. In my time, I was cast out because I dared to speak these truths aloud. The church could not forgive such honesty. They needed the people to believe that rulers were chosen by God, not guided by strategy. I broke that illusion. I said that power is taken, not given. That fortune favors those who act, not those who pray. And in that moment, I became the enemy of illusion, and therefore of comfort. But I tell you this, the misunderstanding of my work was not born of my cruelty, but of the world's hypocrisy. People crave honesty, but they hate the man who delivers it. They want wisdom, but only if it flatters their conscience. And so they turned my philosophy into a warning label. They turned my name into a myth of evil, so they would never have to face the mirror I held before them. I never sought to destroy morality. I sought to separate it from delusion. Morality is beautiful but fragile. It cannot rule alone in a world filled with wolves. To lead, to endure, to build anything lasting, one must understand both light and shadow. You cannot protect the good without knowing how the bad operates. You cannot preserve peace unless you understand war. That is the essence of my misunderstood legacy. They remember the darkness of my words, but not the light within them. They hear Machiavellian and think manipulation, when in truth, it means awareness of the forces that move men, ambition, fear, desire, greed, and loyalty. To understand these forces is not evil, it is wisdom. To ignore them is not virtue, it is weakness. And yet, even now, centuries later, I see the same blindness. People still cling to illusions about leadership, still believe the good will triumph by goodness alone. But history has never worked that way. It rewards the prepared, the strategic, the unflinching. It rewards those who see humanity not through fantasy, but through the eyes of truth. I am not the villain of this story, I am its narrator. the one who dare to describe the mechanics of power without apology. If my words unsettle you, it is only because they show you what you already know, that behind every crown, every throne, every empire, lies a mind that understood my principles, whether they admitted it or not. The misunderstood man is not the one who speaks lies. It is the one who speaks truths that others are not ready to hear. I was that man. I still am. And the world, though it tries to deny it, still plays by my rules. You live in a world built on illusions. Every day you are told that honesty brings success, that goodness always wins, that patience will reward you. But look around. Do the kind always rise? Do the honest always prosper? Or do you see something different? The clever, the adaptable, the bold, climbing higher while the virtuous watch from below, wondering where they went wrong. This, my friend, is where my philosophy begins. Not with cruelty, not with evil, but with reality. For all my life I studied men, not as they wished to appear, but as they truly were. I watched the powerful and the powerless, the faithful and the false. I saw that human nature, beneath its disguises, is driven by the same timeless instincts: ambition, fear, envy, and desire. These are not sins, they are the raw materials of existence. And those who ignore them are not saints, they are victims. When I wrote, I did not seek to build a world of perfection. I sought to describe the one that already existed. A world where morality bends before necessity, where the weak are devoured by those who see clearly. I understood that ideals may comfort the soul, but they do not guard the throne. And so I said, to lead, one must first understand reality, not as it should be, but as it is. The moralists of my time accused me of cynicism. But tell me, who is the greater fool? The man who accepts the truth of human nature, or the one who closes his eyes to it and pretends virtue alone will command obedience? I saw too many rulers destroyed by their own goodness, too many kingdoms fall because their leaders believed in the loyalty of men who were only loyal to fortune. The law of reality is simple: men love as they wish, but they fear as they must. Love is a luxury, fear is a necessity. Love depends on others. It requires loyalty, memory, gratitude. But fear lives in the heart like fire. It needs no reminder. That is why I wrote her. It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. Those who quote this line with contempt never understood it. It was not a call to cruelty, but to stability. For fear, when measured, sustains order. Love, when blind, invites betrayal. Reality does not care for your ideals. The world does not stop because your intentions were pure. The river of power moves for those who know how to swim in its current. And those who refuse to learn its flow are swept away by it. You must understand, virtue without wisdom is weakness. Morality without strategy is self-destruction. I learned these truths not from philosophy, but from blood and betrayal. Florence taught me that alliances are fragile, promises are weapons, and fortune is a traitor. The same man who smiles at you today may sharpen the knife that ends you tomorrow. You cannot govern such a world by trust alone. You must govern it by understanding. Reality is not cruel. It is neutral. It rewards perception and punishes blindness. The lion who sees the trap avoids it. The lamb who believes all are kind dies in it. To survive, one must think as both. To see through deceit without drowning in it. To act with strength, but also with calculation. I never said that a ruler should be merciless. I said he should know when mercy strengthens him, and when it weakens him. Mercy given at the wrong time can destroy authority. Kindness without limits invites rebellion. Even virtue must be strategy. Every decision must serve a purpose. Not the comfort of your conscience, but the stability of your power. You see, the world does not punish those who are realistic. It punishes those who are naive. The law of reality spares no one. Not kings, not peasants, not you. Every man faces it, whether in politics, in business, or in love. The one who accepts it lives with open eyes. The one who denies it lives as prey. When I said that appearances matter more than truth, it was not because I despised truth, but because I understood the eyes of men. People do not see your soul, they see your image. They judge not your intentions, but your presentation. The one who controls perception controls power. The one who ignores perception loses both truth and influence. The law of reality demands that you learn the language of power, the language of timing, of image, of control. To survive in this world, you must be like water, taking the shape of the vessel that holds you, yet always remaining yourself. Bend, adapt, disguise, but never break. I have seen men destroyed because they clung to ideals in a world that rewarded flexibility. I have seen rulers fall because they loved too much, trusted too soon, or forgive too easily. They believed that to be loved was enough. It never is. The law of reality is merciless toward those who confuse kindness with strategy. Understand this: human nature has not changed in centuries. The faces are new, the crowns are digital, the courts are online, but the instincts remain the same. People still follow power, still envy success, still betray when fear fades. Those who wish to survive must see the patterns that repeat through time, the cycles of loyalty, ambition, and deceit. This is why my words endure. Not because they are cruel, but because they are true. The law of reality does not demand evil. It demands awareness. The wise see through illusion and act according to what the world truly is. The fool worships ideals and falls victim to those who do not. I never wrote to glorify deception. I wrote to arm the honest, to show them that in a world ruled by appearances, they must learn how power truly moves, that to preserve goodness, one must first understand the forces that threaten it, that to protect one's virtue, one must sometimes stand in the shadow and watch, silently, as others sleep in their fantasies. This is the lesson that still echoes through centuries, that survival belongs not to the pure, but to the perceptive, that the law of reality does not bow to morality, but expects morality to serve intelligence. And those who grasp this law may not always be loved, but they will never be destroyed. You believe the prince was written for kings, for those who sit upon thrones, wrapped in velvet and command armies with a gesture. But that belief is your first mistake. The prince was never only about crowns and kingdoms. It was about you, about every man and woman who wakes each morning and steps into a world ruled by ambition, competition, and hidden motives. You may not hold a throne, but you fight battles all the same. Battles for respect, for influence, for security, for survival. You are a ruler of your own small domain, and the same laws that guide princes also guide you. I saw this truth long before others did. I watched the corridors of power and the streets of Florence alike. The merchant, the artist, the servant, all moved according to the same rhythm as the ruler. Every one of them sought advantage, recognition, safety. Some fought with gold, others with charm, and some with silence. The game was everywhere. You cannot escape it because it is not political. It is human. When I wrote of the lion and the fox, I was not describing beasts. I was describing the two halves of human nature. The lion represents strength, the courage to strike when the moment demands it. The fox represents intelligence, the ability to see traps before they close around you. Every successful soul must learn to master both. The lion without the fox is reckless. The fox without the lion is cowardly. Power belongs to the one who can wear both masks with grace. In every court, in every workplace, in every home, there are politics. There are alliances and betrayals, hidden agendas and unspoken rules. People imagine politics exists only in government, but that is the illusion. Politics is wherever ambition breathes. When you persuade, when you negotiate, when you maintain an image, when you silence a truth to avoid conflict. You are practicing the very art I wrote about. You are in your own way, the prince. You must understand that the greatest form of power is not domination. It is perception. How others see you determines how they treat you. If you appear weak, the world grows bold. If you appear confident, the world yields. I told rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane, and religious. Not because I despised virtue, but because I understood that appearance often commands more loyalty than truth. Men believe what they see. And if you can shape what they see, you can shape their actions. Consider how often people mistake politeness for weakness, humility for submission, or honesty for naivety. The wise man learns to control what image he gives, revealing strength only when it benefits him, and concealing his intentions when it protects him. You do not need to lie. You only need to know when to speak and how much to reveal. Silence, at times, is the most strategic weapon. I have seen good men fall not because they lacked strength, but because they showed too much of it too soon. They revealed their hand before the game began. I have seen clever minds undone because they trusted the wrong smile. The lesson is simple. You must never act without calculation. Every word, every gesture, every alliance must serve a purpose. This is not manipulation, it is survival. The world respects results, not intentions. You can be the most moral person alive, but if you cannot protect your position, if you cannot navigate deceit, then your virtue will perish with you. That is the tragedy of those who misunderstand power. They confuse purity with wisdom. I say to you, be virtuous, yes, but let your virtue serve your strategy, not replace it. To live as the prince within your own life, you must learn when to act and when to wait. You must recognize the tides of fortune, when to seize opportunity and when to let it pass. Fortune, as I wrote, is like a river that floods. It favors the bold who build barriers before the storm, and it drowns the timid who pray for calm. Those who prepare and strike at the right time bend fate itself to their will. Many fear this way of thinking because it demands responsibility. It asks you to stop blaming others and see yourself as the ruler of your own realm. It means you can no longer pretend that luck or injustice alone determines your fate. You must accept that your power, or your weakness, comes from your own choices. That is the hardest truth to accept, and the one most refused to face. When you walk through life, you wear a crown whether you see it or not. Some wear it carelessly and lose it quickly. Others polish it in silence, protecting it with patience and precision. The crown does not make you powerful. Your mind does. The crown is only a symbol of how you think, how you act, how you respond to chaos. Those who master this art begin to move differently. They no longer chase validation. They no longer react blindly to insults or praise. They learn that both are tools of control. Instead, they observe, they adapt. They command themselves first, and then, through that discipline, they command others. That is the essence of my philosophy. Control of self leads to control of circumstance. If you can govern your impulses, master your image, and act with both courage and calculation, you are already a prince not of land but of destiny. Understand then that power is not inherited, it is learned. It is not given, it is built. And those who study its laws, who observe humanity with clear eyes and a steady heart, will always rise above those who live by impulse and wishful thinking. Every man and woman who learns to blend strength with subtlety, who refuses to be blind to the world's realities, who chooses awareness over comfort, carries the prince within them. They may not wear a robe or rule a state, but they rule something far greater, themselves. Centuries have passed since I first set ink to paper, yet when I look upon your world, I see my words breathing through it. You may think my teachings belong to the dust of old Florence, to kings and popes and dying empires. But no, my spirit walks in your streets, lives in your cities, and hides in the hands of those who shape your age. You live in a Machiavellian world. Though you dare not admit it, power has merely changed its costume. The robes of princes have become the suits of executives, the crowns replaced by digital influence, and the royal courts reborn as boardrooms, governments, and social networks. The thrones are new, but the instincts are ancient. Men still hunger for status, still scheme for advantage, still seek to be seen as virtuous while acting in secret. The world evolves in its tools, but not in its nature. In my time, power was visible. It was carved in stone, guarded by soldiers, and blessed by priests. Today it hides behind polished screens and glowing brands. You no longer see the sword. You see the smile. You no longer hear the command. You hear the speech. Yet the purpose remains the same: control the minds of men through perception. That is the art I taught, and your world has perfected it. Look closely at your politics. Do you believe leaders rise by honesty, by pure vision, by moral strength? No. They rise because they understand image, the mask that rules the crowd. They build stories around themselves, knowing that men do not follow truth. They follow symbols. They promise virtue while practicing calculation. They speak of justice, yet move only when power demands it. Every campaign, every speech, every handshake is strategy. I see the prince alive in every politician who plays the crowd with charm and fear, and do not think it ends with politics. Your age has given birth to new kinds of rulers. Influencers, entrepreneurs, public figures who command attention like kings once commanded armies. Their followers are their subjects. Their platforms are their kingdoms. And what do they rule with? Not swords, but perception. Not truth, but narrative. They shape their image with precision, revealing just enough humanity to be loved and just enough distance to be obeyed. This is not coincidence. This is Machiavellian mastery. Power born from controlling what people believe they see. You call it marketing. I call it the modern art of manipulation. Yet do not misunderstand me. I do not condemn it. I predicted it. For I knew that perception would always dominate truth, that the crowd would always crave illusion more than clarity. The wise do not curse this reality. They learn to use it. The same principle that once governed rulers now colors every individual. The worker who seeks promotion, the creator who seeks fame, the citizen who seeks influence. All must understand how power moves through perception. You live in a theater where every gesture, every post, every word you speak adds or subtracts from your reputation. The image you project is your armor, your weapon, your currency. To neglect it is to walk unarmed into battle. And yet, most of you still believe that sincerity alone will win respect. You show your weakness, your confusion, and then wonder why the world exploits it. You forget that honesty, without strategy, is vulnerability. In the modern age, survival belongs to those who understand what to reveal and what to conceal. The strong control their narrative, the weak let others write it for them. Your society is a masterpiece of appearances. Even morality itself has become performance. The righteous parade their virtue not to serve truth, but to gain favor. The powerful donate not from generosity, but from calculation. Every act of goodness, every apology, every tear on camera, all serve a purpose. It It may disgust you to hear it, but I only describe what is. The age of sincerity has ended, the age of strategy has begun. And in this new age, every person must learn the principles I once wrote for rulers. You must know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to yield and when to strike, when to appear gentle, and when to let your shadow be seen. To live without understanding these things is to wander blind through a world ruled by those who do. Even your technology, your algorithms, your networks. Follow my logic. They reward attention, not virtue. They amplify power, not truth. They turn perception into currency. And those who master this new battlefield rise above nations, untouched by borders, adored by millions who never question the illusion. Your kings once ruled land, your new princes rule minds. When I said that fortune favors the bold, I meant not the reckless, but the adaptive. Those who can see the tide of change before it crashes. The modern world belongs to such men and women. The ones who treat information as power, reputation as a weapon, and perception as their shield. You see, I never wrote for an age of swords alone. My philosophy was born for every era where humans chase power. And that means every era. Whether you stand before an army or a screen, whether your weapon is steel or strategy, the same truths govern you. Appear stronger than you are. Conceal your weaknesses. Inspire fear when you must, and loyalty when it benefits you. Rule not only through might, but through understanding of the hearts you command. The world has always belonged to those who can balance morality with cunning. It still does. The language has changed, the stage has widened, but the game remains eternal. Every ruler, every leader, every ambitious soul plays by the same unspoken laws I once revealed. The difference is that now, the entire world is the court, and everyone is performing before it. And so, whether you rise to power in politics, business, or the quiet empire of your own life, you are faced with the same question that haunted every prince I ever advised. Will you be ruled by illusion, or will you master it? Now you see me not as the monster they painted, but as the mirror they feared to face. I did not come to corrupt the world, only to describe it. I did not write to glorify deceit, but to protect the few who dare to see clearly. My words were never dagger medicine. Bitter, yes, but healing for those poisoned by illusion. You live in an age where appearances rule and truth hides beneath performance, yet what I taught still burns bright. To survive, you must understand human nature. To lead, you must master perception. And to remain free, you must never worship the lies that comfort you. The world will always belong to those who see it as it is, not as they wish it to be. The ones who can balance heart and reason, mercy and calculation, virtue and power. They are the true heirs of my philosophy. They are the new princes of your age. Remember this: morality without strategy is fragile, and strategy without morality is empty. You must wield both, as the sword and the shield of your existence. So if you understand me now, you will see that I never spoke of tyranny. I spoke of mastery, mastery of self, of fate, and of the forces that move mankind. Do not fear my name, learn from it. For I, Niccolò Machiavelli, did not teach men how to be evil. I taught them how not to be blind.